So, Antonio, that we got into a little bit more the business side of it. One of the questions that I had is related to the journey with the Kaizen methodology. And we may have some people that is watching us that starts wondering, like, why should I do a Kaizen transformation? We are talking about culture. We are talking about changing the paradigms, about the tools that can improve efficiency or the quality, amongst other things. But when a person in an organization, even if it's C-level, CI manager, wonders why I should do it, what would be your answer?
Okay. We are, me and you, and probably the people that is listening or seeing us, the majority of us, we are people from science, which means that we believe that we evolve, in our case, from the monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in that?
Yes.
I also believe in that. But let's think about how the monkey moves. So the monkey moves in four legs. But the monkey has the ability of walking with two and using the arms to do other things. But if we take a look or a deep look in the monkey, he cannot move always standing up. If you want to be faster, he uses the arms to run. So if you ask a monkey to walk like a human being, it will be very, very, very difficult. Okay, so if you think that, okay, let's improve the right arm of the monkey, let's do a Six Sigma project and put the right arm on such a condition that he will be able to grab a tool when he's walking with the legs. Okay, in the left arm, let's do a certification ISO 9200 automotive industry obligation to put the left arm of the monkey like this. You can do that, but you will only succeed putting the monkey walking like a human being if you change the backbone of the monkey. And it is like in an organization. You can improve the assembly line to a level of a Dentotsu company, one piece flow, without stocks, moving the goods from one machine to the other with a short distance. But then if you accumulate the products in the warehouse, or if you don't have sales, what's in it for you? You have an amazing assembly line, but there is no flow, or you don't have sales. You have to improve the sales. At the same time, you can develop a lot your sourcing processes to have the best raw materials, negotiating at the best price, mm-hmm. But then you produce defects in your organization. So only when you change the backbone, and the backbone means the entire organization, wide to wide, is where you have the total potential of the Kaizen implementation. Again, everywhere, everyone, every day. So it's impossible to ask the monkey to walk like a human if you don't change the backbone of the monkey. And in an organization, it's impossible to get the fullest potential of the results if you only do small improvements here and there. So only a full Kaizen transformation will allow your organization to have the better results and to be a Dentotsu and to be the leader in your sector. Because until some decades ago, operational excellence was enough to be a leader in your sector. Today is not enough. So you have to have operational excellence, but you also have to have excellence on sales, on innovation, because operational excellence is not enough now. And this is the same. So you have to bring operational excellence, you have to bring excellence in growth, and of course you have to have motivated people, a learning organization to keep this wheel of change
all
spinning
the time going.
All the time. Yes.
So the next question it would be like how to change the backbone, because we may have people that's okay, I'm changing parts of the monkey, but I don't know how to change the backbone. And we are saying that the Kaizen methodology is about this, is about changing the backbone so that you can improve the whole monkey as it is. So how do you start? What is the first step? Let's imagine like we didn't do anything in an organization. How do you start changing the backbone?
Well, we always start in what we call the pacemaker. So we always start where we are closer to the final customer. Okay? So, and it is the final customer, or where we are closer to the final customer, the pacemaker, that is pulling the improvements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, most of the time, if we are speaking about an industrial organization, manpower intensive organization, we are speaking about probably the assembly line. Okay? And then we start to pull the improvements. And probably the bottleneck is in a part of a process of a certain machine producing a certain product. But then when you start to fix this, you will understand that, okay, but I use stock because my supplier is in China and I have a long lead time. Okay, so if I improve my sourcing process, I will have smaller batches, probably closer suppliers with a better, let's say, relationship that I can improve this process. Or at the same time, your problem is you have new products, but you take too much time to launch the new product, and you are planning to sell this product and in the beginning of 2024, but we are in April and we are still not with the minimum viable product to put in place. So we starting with the pacemaker, like our heart, that is pumping and taking the blood to all the organs and all parts of our body. It's like the organizations. So we start to pull the improvements. So this is a strategy to make it happen. It's the backbone of the monkey. And at the same time, you are involving everyone, every person. Because historically, it's easy to understand that in production, in transformation operations, it's easy to improve. There are loads of examples. Usually we measure almost everything. If we have a deviation, screwing or unscrewing, we probably have an indicator that says that the operator took 3 seconds more, 3 times consecutive to screw something, and you act. But when you go to the engineering department, when you go to the legal department, you don't have that many examples, or you don't have, you are not measuring that much what you do, and it's difficult to improve what you don't measure. So it's easy to explode within an organization from the pacemaker to all the parts of the organization. And at the same time, culturally, we are introducing behaviors. This is like a virus, because it's the internal people that is contaminating the other people, the other peers. So we are external agents that go to the organizations to support, to facilitate, to help in the solutions, but at the same time, it's peer-to-peer that they are convincing each other to adopt a new behavior.
So we are, Antonio, understand, like to summarize a bit these bullet points, like on a first step, you are pulling the problems from the pacemaker. So you understand what is the pain in the organization. And on the other hand, as you were mentioning, is about creating, I would put, I don't know if that would be the correct word, but like kind of lighthouses, people who will act as ambassadors, or as kind of boosting the methodology to other parts of the organization to bring this everyone, every day, everywhere. Because also if I'm looking at it like, okay, I know I want to do it by everyone, every day and everywhere, but how do I involve everyone from the day one? It's very complicated. So what I'm getting is that when you start pulling the improvements, you start pulling it in specific parts of the organization, and after that you are using this peer-to-peer to understand, okay, this improvement that we did brought this and helped me personally as an employee to have this ergonomy, better safety, better productivity, better quality, whatever it is, so that other people in the organization understands the benefits and then implements it in their areas. Like if that is a bit the idea behind it.
It's a bit the idea. You cannot transform everything at the same time in a short period of time. So you have to follow a roadmap, and you cannot transform, if an organization has 30,000 people, you cannot transform 30,000 people at the same time. So you need to find those lighthouses that you were mentioning, and you need to launch the change management activities in parallel. So you are working or improving the processes in any given value stream, in any given part of the organization, from the financial department or the HR department or the production department. And the result of improving the process, it will be a new standard, sometimes a new process, a new set of standards. But then in the day-to-day, there are people that is using that new standard. So the people needs to acquire that new standard, that new behavior. How? With the daily management activities, the daily Kaizen. So you launch daily Kaizen activities and value stream activities at the same time. Then it depends on the maturity of the organization, if you are or not linking these activities with the company strategy. Because we know that 99.9% of the companies, they have strategy in place, but we also know that the majority of them, they struggle to put the strategy in practice. So you have to link these value streams, improvements or process transformation that you do with the strategy that you have in place. And at the same time, of course, that you have to handle the standards to the teams that are doing this on a daily basis. So you have a strategy, and the impact of that strategy is at a certain level, and on a certain value stream, on a certain group of people, in a certain department or part of the process. But then you have the scale up. You have the whole company, the whole organization. So you have to have tools that we call the Kaizen transformation tools to communicate the improvements, to do the Yokoten, to benchmark the best improvements to other areas, to other persons, to other teams, to other machines. We have to have some audit systems to measure where we are and how we're gonna put our evolution where we want to go. You have to have a learning process or a training system for the new people to acquire the knowledge of the tools and put them in practice. So all of this is what we call the 4 change management program. So from top to bottom, the Strat Kaizen, the value stream Kaizen, the daily Kaizen, and the transformation Kaizen that is having all of this at once.
Because you mentioned that at the beginning, there is this value stream Kaizen or value stream, let's say, projects that bring breakthrough results. That's the idea of a value stream or a Kaizen event. And then you have the daily management, which supports these new standards that will be built on this value stream Kaizen. Do you feel also that starting as a company that is doing Kaizen for the first time, is it critical to start by this value stream Kaizen? Let me explain why. Like in the meaning that if I start bringing this kind of breakthrough results with the daily management, I'm creating these lighthouses. I kind of understand the power of doing these Kaizen events, and it's easier later for the same company to scale up because this represents a specific improvement that, as I mentioned, in terms of efficiency or quality or delivery, lead times, whatever it is, but it helps me do a breakthrough result that will be seen by other peers in a powerful way. So to the later it's easier to make a scale up, or it's not really necessary in your opinion to do that?
It depends on the maturity of the organization. It depends on the experience of the organization with Kaizen, with Lean previously, because sometimes it's more difficult to do it to succeed on a second time or on a third time than on a first time. And we know that there are companies that already tried and they miss it. They tried and they were not successful, and then it's becoming more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. So I already started Kaizen transformations, starting with daily Kaizen. I already started Kaizen transformation successful, starting with the value stream Kaizen. I already started successful Kaizen transformation, starting with both at the same time.
Okay.
In here we have the patience of the leaders, the maturity of the organization, and also the availability to acquire the new behaviors and then to take the new behaviors to other persons, to other groups, to other departments. We know by experience that starting with a value stream, it will bring results faster. But we also know by experience that if we start with the daily Kaizen, it will bring consistency faster, because it's easy to do a project and to be successful. It's not that easy to maintain and improve those results. So we know that we need to combine both. But again, at the same time, we need to be linked and aligned with the strategy. Otherwise, we will be improving a lot the efficiency. But then the truth is we don't have enough customers. So everything needs to be linked. And this is the beauty of Kaizen. So again, it's a role, a specific role to any single person in the organization, from the CEO or the top managers or the board or the C-level to the front line.
You mentioned something very interesting, like this triangle of the patience of the management, the availability of scaling up, and you mentioned another one. But I'm going to relate to this patience of the management. What would you say to this kind of C-level executives that maybe don't have the patience, or they want results tomorrow, and those ones who have the patience? What is your view on that, or what is better in your opinion? Because we find two types of executives, right? The ones that don't have patience to develop the whole system, and the ones that understand it. But how do you approach these two sides?
Kaizen is leadership intensive. So the top management needs to understand that they need to participate in the Kaizen transformation. And participate means not only to be involved and support the teams and show the support publicly or in the communications, but also being committed, which means participating in the Kaizen events. And when we have the chance to put the C-level people living and participating in the Kaizen events, they start to understand the mechanism that we bring to the organizations. So we focus on a specific process. We understand how the process is and not how the process should be. We see the process in action. We map the process. We identify the problems, the bottlenecks, the constraints, and we start to solve these constraints, these problems, and what will be the result if I don't have this problem, I don't have this problem, I don't have this problem, what will be the output of this process? And participating in these activities fundamentally changed the mindset of the top managers. And we know that we have this learning process, let's say, understood. And after any C-level member participates in 2 to 3 value stream activities and 4 to 6 Kaizen events, it is the moment in time that they fundamentally change their paradigm. So today we have a few top managers in the world that they understand totally the power of Kaizen, and we can quote Larry Culp as an example in GE. So he totally understands what Kaizen means and what Kaizen is, and he has the patience to understand that to get the results we need to change something on the processes, because we know that we cannot repeat the way we are doing the things and expect different results. So, and when he goes in his own organization, when he goes to gamble with the teams, participating in the Kaizen events, it is the most powerful commitment activity that you can have in any given organization. So Larry Culp succeed in Danaher, and that Larry Culp is succeeding in GE, and we know GE was on a situation that it was not very pleasant for a new CEO, and Larry was the first CEO coming out of GE. In the past, all the CEOs that led the company, they came from inside, and Larry was the first to come from the outside. And the results that they are getting today, it's unbelievable. And all of a sudden, GE started to speak about Kaizen everywhere in all the businesses, from healthcare to renewals to aviation, everywhere.
Let me go to some specific cases. Now you were mentioning GE, but I would like to know some of your cases personally. Some success stories where you managed, let's say, to change the backbone of the monkey, as we were mentioning before. Could you share with us some successful transformation when you really saw the power of Kaizen being applied in all different levels of the organization, or the one that you see that is the most interesting transformation that you've experienced?
Well, like I told you, introducing myself, I always like people and to work with people. So one of my favorite sectors is retail. Why retail? Because in retail we are very, very close to the final customer. So typically the final customer is inside our processes or our transformation processes that we have in our business. Either if it is an online business, an omni-channel business, or a store, any given store. Once I participated in a project in a retailer with more than 30,000 people involved. It was a leading company, the biggest player in the market, growing, opening new stores, but they felt that they needed to do something different, although they were going on this direction and not being flat or even losing market share. And we started with a pacemaker at the store in the first activities, and bringing some of the tools, adopting to the language of the business, the retail business, creating the daily management behaviors, daily Kaizen, but at the same time mapping the processes and launching some value stream processes, projects, value stream activities, and at the same time understanding the strategy of the company that was a growth strategy to increase market share, to increase the average sales, to increase the productivity, to open new stores. And after the first initial activities in some stores, some pilot stores, we started to see the power of the transformation, because typically retail, it's a scale business. You work in a store, and the store has on average, it depends if it is a pharmacy or another market or whatsoever. You can go from a store with with 6 or 7 persons to a store with 1,000 persons. But then you have 100, 200, 1,000 stores in
all around the country,
or even
the world.
in different countries. So retail is very, very intuitive, and at the same time, like I said, the customer is very close to our processes that we have in place, which means that we receive the feedback much faster than in other industries. But at the same time, it's difficult because we are making improvements with the customer inside the process. And after the initial lighthouses, we immediately perceive that the efficiency and the productivity and service level, even being the leader, it had an exponential potential to be put in place. And I remember quite well, in the beginning of the activities, we started to go to the store and understanding the value-added activities. They were a leading company, and they start to put their hands in their head thinking, oh, we have 80% of what we do is waste. How is this possible? So after the initial waves, creating lighthouses, and then training the people to cascade it and to train other people and to take it to other stores, to other regions, it was a movement that took initially 3 years, but it was absolutely disruptive to this company. This company was the 55th player in the world of retail, and at this operational level, at this store level, they started to be visited by the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 of the top 10, seeing with their own eyes what were these guys doing different.
Can you give us some examples of implementation projects that were, for example, from this client? Like, we are talking about retail in this case, but I understand that you went through various stream projects together with a daily Kaizen or daily management program, together with a strategy program. What were specific projects that you remember very, let's say, that had a huge impact on the organization?
Many. For instance, we are speaking about stores that, among other products, they have fresh products. For instance, bread. So they sell bread. They are an hypermarket, which means that they have dozens of different bread SKUs, bread references, and they produce, or they used to produce in stock. So they open the store at 7 a.m. with a lot of bread already cooked, ready on the shelves for the customers. It is too hot in here, and we studied this process of producing the bread, and there was this ambition of having fresh bread every hour. We are speaking about a store that is open from 7 a.m. to midnight, imagine. And typically, the ones that were producing the bread, they were producing the bread during the night to open the store with the bread. And typically, you don't buy bread in a supermarket, you buy bread in a proximity store because you buy it fresh, hot, and the smell. And we radically transformed the bread production in this hypermarket. So very quickly, because the process is big, we started to create a supermarket of almost finished bread, so frozen products, inside the supermarket. We standardize the quantities, and we open the store only with a certain level of a certain amount of bread on the shelves. And then according to the consumption, we send a sign to the supermarket that we need to replenish that specific SKU of bread.
Supermarkets understanding the delivery or the logistic side, on the logistic side of the bread.
Sorry about this technical.
Because the hypermarket and supermarket.
Yes. So what does this mean? This means that from this supermarket of frozen bread to have the bread ready, we need 12 minutes. So every 12 minutes we can have fresh bread. So instead of producing, let's say, 2,000 breads of a certain reference during the night to open the store, we had, imagine, 20 or 24 breads at 7 a.m. And then every quarter, if
based on demand,
if they were consumed, being replenished. And all the organization that we need to change behind to have this availability of repeating the production with efficiency, using the equipments that were already there to dramatically change the bread production. Result, at the end of the day, in terms of quality, a lot less shrinkage because there were bread that was not sold on the day, and typically it was waste. To almost no waste, because the last production, it can be at 11:15 p.m. To increase the sales and to change the habits of the consumers starting to buy bread again in an hypermarket, because they didn't have that routine.
Okay, Antonio, we are getting to the end of the podcast, and this will be a long one, to be honest. But there is still one more topic before we close it, and it's the topic about the future. Where are we going now in terms of the Kaizen methodology and the trends that are happening right now in the market? We are talking a lot in the last months or in the last years even about digitalization, about sustainability, ESG, now artificial intelligence as well. How do you see the future of Kaizen methodology fitting to these trends that are coming up now?
Another good question, but it's easier than Luis António Costa, in my opinion. Technology, today, technology evolution, it's exponential. In the last 20 years, we changed more or we improved more the technology than in the 100 years before the last 20. Regarding not only the technology evolution, also the capacity, also the cost. If we think about simple things like the memory of a computer. I remember I was involved in a project in 2000 in a semiconductor company producing the memories of 8 megabytes. So 24 years ago. Today
with the gigabytes,
terabytes, and the cost is lower than these 8 megabytes memories that I was working on this company. The relationship of the humans, the human being with technology, is something that we learned almost since we were like the monkeys. And the word that we used to use to technology, it was tools. So the Homo sapiens started to learn how to use the tools initially to protect himself from the climate, the adversity of the climate. We are in Finland. We are full of snow outside, but we could be inside a desert with a 40 degrees temperature. And the tools or the technology served the human being since the very beginning, initially to protect, then to hunt, basically to survive. So this relationship with technology is something that came since the beginning of humankind, in a kind of a master-slave relationship. Today is not that different, but today, instead of calling it tools, we call it technology.
Mm-hmm.
In Kaizen, we have a very pragmatic approach to the technology, because in our mindset, first we simplify, and then we automatize what is needed. We have no doubts about the power of the analytics, the big data, regarding the type of projects and processes that we improve, because Kaizen is about data, and we used to say, good data, good Kaizen. So if we can access data faster, bigger amounts of data that will eliminate the most variables involved in the process, the better will be the process that we are designing or improving. We have no doubts that artificial intelligence will contribute a lot to speed up the improvements, and also the quality and the quantity of the things that we can do in the processes. It doesn't matter which type of process it is. We have already cases where we are using AI in our projects, for instance, in inspection or quality inspection in some sectors like textile companies or other types of companies. So this relationship, it is very simple. So technology, call it digitalization, it is an enabler to succeed implementing Kaizen in any given process. At the same time, sustainability is all about Kaizen, because in Kaizen, as you know, we tend to reuse, to recycle, to use something that we have today that doesn't work anymore, to transform it in something that we need for the future. So there is a natural fit between ESG, digitalization, and Kaizen, because Kaizen means continuous improvement. And when the technology helps to improve, so this is the perfect wedding. So these new adjacencies, we can call it that way, regarding AI, machine learning, ChatGPT, analytics, big data, they are already present in most or a lot of the projects that we are conducting today in different sectors.
Do you feel it can also be a challenge for some companies? You mentioned that in Kaizen, we first simplify, then automatize. Do you feel it can also be a challenge that some companies first automatize without simplifying because of how technology is evolving, and you feel like you need to be ahead of the curve? And
that is what happened in the world right now. Most of the companies, they are doing it in the wrong way, because there are incentives, almost, at least Europe and US, there are a lot of incentives to introduce technology. So the European Union is funding a lot of projects to introduce technology, to bring technology. So there are access to money, and companies tend to do it. So they will, between brackets, automatize some of the processes before simplifying those processes, and that will be felt in the final customer, in the service that we are delivering or the product that we are delivering. So we cope with technology as an enabler to get the results of the processes that we.
I think it's important, as you mentioned now, like to look at it from that perspective, that technology should be the enabler and not the solution to specific challenges or issues. Otherwise, we can fall in this trap that we are discussing.
Kaizen is about problem solving. So all of us, our mindset is to solve problems, and we help the organizations to solve problems. So we go to the organizations with more or less technology involved, prepared to help them solving the daily problems that they have in their processes. So it's technology is part of our solutions, and it's not something apart of our solutions.
Perfect. Antonio, I have one request still, because I always, when I'm closing or going to the closing of the podcast, I ask my guests to bring some specific anecdote, can bring private life, can bring professional life, experiences that you had related with Kaizen, something that impacted you during your life, that had some relationship with the Kaizen methodology or the Kaizen family. So could you share one with us today?
Okay. So I will go with two jokes that I particularly appreciate. One that I learned with Mr. Imai, and I think we can compare with this last question about technology being the enabler of the success of the Kaizen implementation. On a certain moment, Mr. Imai was in a safari with a friend, and they were going from early in the morning with these shotguns and killing different animals, and on a certain moment they were without ammunitions, so they decided to come back, and when they were coming back, they find a lion. They were afraid, and the friend of Mr. Imai decided to start to run, but he looked that Mr. Imai was taking tennis shoes out of the bag and started to put the tennis shoes. And the friend of Mr. Imai said, "Imai-san, do you think that even with the tennis shoes you will be capable to run faster than the lion?" And Imai told him, "I don't need to run faster than the lion. I just need to run one step ahead of you to be safe." So this is like the companies when we are implementing Kaizen transformations, and if we link this with these new technologies utilization, we need to do the things according to the need, and not because they are there and they are available. So simplifying first to bring the technology in is our way to do the things, but totally consciousness that the technology will improve a lot the speed of achieving the results because of the availability of the data and the quality of the solutions. The second one, and because I told you at the beginning that the only subject that drives me out of mind is football. It's about football. So there was this place that they were selling brains of supporters of football clubs, and we can create here an analogy to the companies that don't change, and the others that they change faster. We have this PDCA approach, or Mr. Edward Deming's cycle: plan, do, check, act. In industrial language, sometimes we make a joke that PDCA also sometimes means please don't change a thing. And there are these companies that they don't change because they believe that they are already good and they don't need to change. This reminds me football fans. So they found the brain of a fan of Real Madrid, and the cost was 100 euros for a part of the brain of the Real Madrid player. And then they found the brain of an FC Porto fan, and the cost was higher than the Real Madrid fan. And he asked why, and he said, no, because it's more rare. It has less fans, but it's more rare, so it needs to be more expensive. And then they found the price of the brain of the Benfica supporters, and it was 100 times more expensive. And he asked, how is it possible the Benfica brains being 100 times more expensive than Porto and 150 times more expensive than the supporters of Real Madrid? And he said, don't you see, Benfica supporters, they have nothing in the brain. So to be able to collect 1 kilogram of brain, imagine how many fans we need to find. No, some organizations, they struggle to change. And we know why, because when we launch Kaizen and these Kaizen programs, the biggest obstacle in terms of change, in terms of percentage, is in the front line. So in terms of numbers of people, so we know where we need to act. But of course, we also know that the top managers, they think their role is not participating, but just supporting. And it's the wrong mindset. So again, Kaizen is leadership intensive. They need to be part of the Kaizen activities. They need to be part of the Kaizen events. And it is when they experience the real change that they understand the power of Kaizen. Typically, at the board level, we are always concerned with the EBITDA, the profitability. But when we are with the front lines, we are measuring output or quality or cost of non-quality. And within an organization, where you are capable of putting the front line, explaining the impact on the EBITDA or the EBITDA that they generate, is when you can see the highest commitment with the top managers to transform the organization. So if you go to any given company and you are with an operator and he can explain you the EBITDA that is generating in his workstation, you can be sure that the commitment of this organization is a total commitment.
I'm actually told that Masaki was doing that sometimes, that he was going to companies and he was always asking operators about the key questions of the production, KPIs and so on, and he was always kind of pushing away the management, because what you mentioned, he wanted to know if operator knows, because if operator knows, everything else is easier. Antonio, thank you very much. We are closing now the the podcast reaching the end. I would like to thank you a lot for finding the time this week to chat with me, and also for the insights that you brought during this podcast. I'm also always asking my guests to close the podcast with a final message, whatever it is. So you will have your camera.
Okay.
From my side, just we'll see again soon in the next episode. And yeah, Antonio, all yours.
Okay. So thank you, Alex. It is always a pleasure to be with you, to be with the colleagues that are committed in improving what we do. It doesn't matter if it is in Poland or in Spain, or in China or in Finland, where we are today. Our commitment to change and to help the organizations to change is very important to motivate ourselves when we go to the organizations with a free spirit to support the people with the organizations and sharing everything that we know, because our value is not only about our capability to manage the tools and to be able to teach the tools and introduce the tools within the organization. Our real value is also the experience that we have accumulated from project A to B to C to D in the same sector, or sometimes in different sectors. I'm not speaking about industrial secrets that we can pick in one place to take to the other. No. I'm speaking about the number of times that we were faced to the same problem or similar problems, either it is in a transactional process or in a production process. So my wish to all the organizations, or the ones that are listening or seeing us today, is that embrace your Kaizen journey without paradigms, because the biggest problem in any given organization is the difficulty to see the real problem. So when you cannot see the real problems, then you have a problem within your organization, and you need to be humble to try to understand inside the organization, with all the levels of the hierarchy, what is happening, how the processes are being managed, what is the situation of the standards, if there is a standard, there is not a standard, and we have a problem, or a problem is occurring, and the capacity to involve the others, if you are a CI manager or a CI member, or the capacity to motivate and to participate with the teams when you are a C-level person, or even the CEO, is the most important, let's say, behavior that you can have when joining together as a team, with a team, looking to the processes and trying to improve it. In our common belief, it is always possible to improve. Of course, sometimes is more difficult, sometimes is less, it depends, but it is always possible to improve. This is the mindset that we bring to the organizations, and again, we bring an holistic approach with given proofs, and we focus in the place where the reality happens, involving the people, understanding where the problems are, what are the problems, and trying to pick tools in order to solve it, and trying to bring programs to sustain these results and to improve the results in time. It is not easy, so I would lie if I say, oh, it's easy, it's very easy. No, it's difficult. But at the end of the day, it is an amazing reward, transforming an organization, preparing an organization for the future, because we know that the lifespan of the companies is dramatically different than what it was in the last century. The average age of the companies is decreasing, and it's easy to understand, because the evolution of the organizations is similar to the evolution of the human being and the species. And if we look to the nature, there are some species that they are already extinguished. and some of them, they were the bigger, they were the faster, they were the stronger, and even though they extinguished themselves, and in the companies it's the same. So we know quite a lot of companies that they were the biggest, the better, and they disappear. And in Kaizen, as in the human nature, we believe that the ones that succeed are the ones that are most adaptive to the change. And this is the real secret of any single organization. Be ready for the change and be capable of doing this change. So my wishes is embrace your Kaizen journey with energy and with perseverance, because Kaizen is not a sprint. Kaizen is like a marathon. And at the end of the day, you feel tired, but you get results. But in the next day, you will find different problems, and you have to do it again and again, because it is a never-ending story. So thank you for watching us today, and I hope to be able to meet some of you and to share my experience with the ones that are interested. So thank you very much. Thank you, Alex.